Hello everybody, this is Mystic Games. Welcome back to a Cardpocalypse video. Today we're going to be doing the Woofians. Sorry. Just say it. Woofians. I have to say woof to say it. And the Pipsqueaks cards. So we're going to go through the champions. We're going to go through majority of the cards they have access to. I don't want to say I have every card in the game that's orange because I don't. Like, I'm missing Wolfgang for the champion card because I didn't befriend Yolanda in my playthrough, who's required for the final champion. But I do have... Actually, I'm missing one of the other red champions. I'm missing Precious as well. So I'm missing two champions, but we're going to go through what I do have. So I have majority of each of the factions cards. There's really no wiki on these either. That's part of why I wanted to do this, for anyone who wants to look at potential cards for a deck before they get into the game. This will help you see what all the cards do. Anyway, so I like, out of all these heroes, I like Queasy, Joan of Arc, and Bad Dog the most anyways. Like, I don't really care for Wolfgang or Precious. What Wolfgang does, because I don't have him, he's a legendary card, is when your minions are damaged, they gain +2 damage. And then for Precious, whenever you deploy a card, it's a 1/1 on drop until the next turn. So essentially you buff them when you drop them, and then on your next turn you have them buffed, and then at the end of your turn they lose those numbers, which can actually kill them. So yeah, that's pretty much what they do. Anyways, let's look at Bad Dog first for what I actually do have. Bad Dog is when you deploy a minion, you give your minion +1 attack, and you give a random enemy minion -1 attack, which is extremely good. You can pretty much nerf the enemy side of the field with this card. When one of your minions destroys an enemy minion, your minion gains +3 attack. On transform, your minions take no damage until end of turn. Rex Machina. When you reveal a face-down mutation, gain 1 attack till the end of your turn, and when you reveal a face-down mutation, your minions gain 1+1. Joan of Arc. After an enemy minion attacks, your minions heal for 1. At the start of your turn, give a random enemy minion -4 until the end of the turn, and give all random enemy minions -2 on transform. Queasy's like my favorite. At the start of your turn, give one of your minions 1+1, and after this champion attacks, give one of your minions 2+2. The issue with him is he requires a lot of board control, but he is one of my favorites to use. These two he's, I would say, better overall, and that one's just solid if you're building a defensive high health deck. Scrapper is your basic one. Your minions with Defender have +1 health, and your minions with Defender have +1/+1, and it deploys a 3/3 ongoing Mega. You have your basic card here, Astromut, which is a 1-cost card. It has Defender on it. It's a 1/2 normally, but because of spoiler alert, there's rule changes in the story. I think starting on day 3 or 4, I can't remember exactly which day off the top of my head. I was able to increase its health passively by 2. Chemical Warfare, which is a mutation. It's when you deploy a minion with greater attack than your enemies, give all of them -2 attack. This is a pretty solid card. It's permanent. I probably want to do more than one in a deck, though. I think there's just better options. When one of your minions survives an attack, gain 5+ health. Power Paw. When you deploy a minion with 4 more attack, you gain 2 attack for this turn. So, you pretty much... I shouldn't say that. You gain 2 attack for this turn and next on your enemy's turn, and then you lose this on your next turn. So it allows your champion to have a slightly higher attack on your enemy's turn. Power Cells. When one of your enemy's minions destroys an enemy minion and survives, you gain +3 attack. You have Popcorn here. While damage has +2 attack. Spiked Collar. if your champion is Mega at the start of your turn, your champion gains +2 attack, and this is permanent. So once you go Mega, if you have this on the board, you can gain +2 attack permanently, which will put you at 4 generally. It's a pretty good card. You could do some really cool things with making your champion really strong. The issue is your champion, unless you manipulate the game in a certain way, you'll never have ambush on your champion. Therefore, you will die eventually, even with super high attack. Spite Soars. When you deploy a minion that costs 5 or more food, double that minion's attack. Stasis, which is a super good Pipsqueak card I manipulated it to make it a Woofian card, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. Steel Skin. When you deploy a minion with Defender, gain 2/2. You have a legendary card here. When one of your minions destroys the last enemy minion survives, it gains 5/5. Gloodles is a 2-cost minion. It gains 1/1 at the start of your turn. So this is a slow ramp card. You want to usually put a defender on the field before you have this down. I like Gloodles, but I don't like Gloodles. He's not one of my favorites. Pointer is a common card. If you have a face down mutation, gain 1/1. He is a very solid card for stats. So something I will mention in this build, in this video, and I might mention in the next video, is when you have a 2-cost card, generally that equals 2 and 2 in stats. So a 2-cost card should be about 4 in stats, whereas a 1-cost card should be about 2 stats. So if you drop a 1-cost card and you have 3 stats, that's pretty good. If you drop a 2-cost card and you have 2, or I shouldn't say that's good, that's above average. Average is double the number, so 2 times 2. Anyways, I'm getting off on a little tangent here. So he's really good because he's always essentially worth the cost, and then if you have a mutation down, he gains value for the cost. Zapper is one of my favorite cards for this build. I tend to build very defender heavy, so I throw a defender down, throw him on the board, and then he just builds up the defender for me. At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion gains 1/1. Then we have a legendary card here. We have Bark Angel, which he's a 3-cost. I put ambush on him. Hiding is better for this card, but I put ambush just because I think I already used my hiding sticker, or I might not have even gotten one in this run. At the start of your turn, minions gain 3/3, and that's all minions on the board. So if you have a Zapper on the board with this, which is a 1/3, next turn your Zapper becomes a 4/6. So this is a very, very powerful card. If you get hiding on this, you can just throw it on the board and never use it, and just have it buff up every card. The only downside to this is the 3/3s at the start of your turn, which is slightly weaker than being at the end of your turn, because that guarantees value when you have it at the end of your turn, because you know you're going to have minions on the board and they're going to get buffed. Whereas at the start of your turn, you might, not have enough board presence, and then throwing this down won't, the thing that you put down with it will just die anyways, and therefore you won't be able to buff it. So that's something to think about with this card, but very strong in defender decks in the game mode, in particular when you're playing campaign, because you'll be able to buff up your defenders, and this is just insane. And as I said, recommendation is if you get the hiding sticker, throw it on this. I only did ambush so I could attack with it and not have it die to the champion. Another very strong card is Dako. At the end of your turn, your other minions heal for 2. He does not heal himself, although if you have 2 Dakos on the field, the other Dako will heal the other Dako. This is really strong with the deck I'm talking about as well, because it heals your defenders every turn, so you just keep essentially getting life back. There's not much more to say about him. He's a rare card. He's solid. Phoenix, my favorite. This card is nuts. Phoenix is a legendary card that you get. Is it from Miss Sugar? I think it's from Miss Sugar. I have it written down somewhere. This card is nuts. So it's a defender. I threw a lethal sticker on this, and I gave it +2 attack, +7 health, and I reduced its cost by, I want to say, 1. I think it's a 4 cost card. This card, every time it dies, it returns to your hand. So it literally, when you put lethal on this, it's just a wall. Everything has to run into it to clear it, and it will kill everything in a hit, except, obviously the champion. And it just destroys everything, and then you get it back. I'm going to show you guys something real quick. So the reason I have stasis in my deck, and I put a sticker on this, was because when one of my minions got destroyed, it would deploy a copy of that minion. Literally, I would play this card when I knew this was going to die, and then I'd have 2 Phoenixes eternally in my hand or on the board. I can essentially know that I'll never not have a Phoenix on the board, because once stasis triggers, I'm always going to have 2 Phoenixes. It's extremely powerful. This is a great card to go with Bark Angel with the layout that I was talking about, because even if they do kill it, it's generally going to defend your board, and they're going to lose almost everything to do so, and then Bark Angel's going to start buffing up everything else, and then next turn you just drop this back down. But yeah, it's very good. I think this is one of my favorite cards in the game. One of my nicknames is Mystic Phoenix as well, for like a lot when I was much younger. So I'm a big fan of Phoenixes. So yeah. Hot Dog is a very good defender card. It's a 3 cost, 1/4 normally, so it's actually not a stats. It's weak stat wise, like it's only a 5 stats when it should be 6 stats without the, purple change on the health there. That being said, it is a great defender just because it has so much health, and there's many ways that Woofians can buff their attack and health up, which makes this card a very good early game defender. Seeing Eye Dog. Your neutral minions gain +1 health and defender. I'm not a big fan of this card. It is decent in the very, very beginning of the game, but I'd only get 1 of them. Not worth more than having 1. Splode is a common card. It is lower than cost. Its value and stats is not equal, so it's a 2/3. It should be a 3/3 for stats for the cost. But when it gets damaged, as long as it survives, it gains 3 attack, which makes it more valuable than the cost. So that's something to think about with this card. If you know you can throw it on the board, and eventually it's going to either survive and gain those +3 stats, you're gaining value from this card. Swamp Hound is a very solid card as well. He's, again, has the same issue with stats, like he's a little bit lower on the stats, but when you reveal a face down mutation, you just deploy an extra 3/3, which essentially is a free minion. A 3/3. It's essentially a 3 cost minion for free. So you throw down a mutation, you throw this down, the mutation's going to trigger that turn, and you get a 3/3 on the board. If they kill this, well, you lost him, but you still have a 3/3. So, solid card. This is one of my favorite cards for this faction as well. Cicada. When this minion attacks, you deploy a 3/3. So this is a 5 cost card normally, 2 attack, 5 health. I stickered it, so mine is a 4. This is the card. Actually, we'll just look at the real card. I stickered mine up, so it became a 4 cost card, so I could get it out earlier. It's a 3/6, and so its stats are better than the value of cost at this point because I buffed it up so much, and then I just start gaining free 3/3s, which is like a free 3 cost minion every turn. So really good card. Once you get it, I recommend you put it in your deck if you're able to. This is useful. Golden Receiver, destroy an enemy face down mutation. Okay card. Its stat cost is very high for what it does. Destroying a mutation's good if you're facing one of the mutation champions. So if you're facing a Rex Machina, Dr. Neuron, which is the Meowtant one. I'm trying to think of the... I think it's Lab Rat for the Pipsqueaks. And then I'm missing the Sinister one. Who's this? It's Cypher. Cypher's the Sinister mutation guy. If you're facing any of the mutation champions that like really need mutations, this is a good card. The issue is it's not a consistent card because you're not always going to get value out of this card. If this was a 3-cost card and it just had this as a bonus effect, I would actually argue this is a very good cost card. But unfortunately, I think it's a little weak. Hexadog. While your champion is Mega, this minion gains 3/3. This is an okay card. It's situational. Obviously, you have to be in Mega for you to drop this and gain the 3/3. But once you're in Mega, the cost of this card is great. We have Pincher here. Pincher, whenever you play it, it gives -2 attack to one enemy on the field. It's an okay card. It's a control card. It has its purpose. I probably would never play more than one of these in my deck, but it's not a bad card. Pokey is one of my favorite defender cards. It is a 3/5, so its stats per cost are equal, so it's good. It's just neutral there. I obviously have mine mutated, so it has better health. This card is very good. It used to be in my deck, and you can tell I never stickered it. And the reason I never stickered it was because I got Phoenix, and I just ended up getting better cards to sticker for that deck. We have Splatter here, which is I'm not going to go over that. I'd made it a Woofian card. It works with my deck extremely well for what it does. I would actually argue that for a rare card, this is one of the strongest rare cards, I think, in the game, in my opinion. And that's Sinister, though. Atomodog is, if you have a face-down mutation, gain 2/2 Swarm. This cost for what it does is horrible. Even if you gain the 2/2 in the Swarm, it just isn't good. This would have had to have been like, really this should have been like a 4-cost, 4/2. That's probably what I would have did with it, and I think it would have been a lot better. Brutish Bulldog is a 5-cost defender. Its attack always is equal to its health. This is a very strong card with Woofian, which it is a Woofian minion, obviously. Because you can manipulate stats a lot, you can actually make this worth way more. And essentially, you never have to worry about this thing's attack. You only have to worry about its health. But for its cost for what you get for stats, it's extremely strong. If you have Daco on the board that heals every turn, you're just going to keep healing, which is going to keep giving it more attack. And this with Daco seems to confuse the AI, because the AI will try to clear this, not realizing it's going to get healed on your turn, and therefore it will, like, the math won't be right, it seems like sometimes, and you can keep it on the board a long time. We already looked at Cicada. Nasher is a common card. It's a 4/5 cost, and it heals all your minions for 2. This is a good early game card for Woofian. It works well for what it does. Its stats are a little weaker, but the healing too is really good, and you control when you heal, which makes it even better. Snappy is a 5-cost 2/2. This is the opposite of Atomodog. Again, if they made this a 4-cost and then decreased the health by 4 and then gave it the face down mutation thing, I think it'd be a lot better. But it's an okay card. Bitsa Blitza is the rare card. It's a 6-cost 5/5 3/3 if you have a face down mutation. This card is better than the other ones. It is a rare card, but you're generally going to get 8 out of 8 stats on this, and it makes it very strong. Although you need to have mutations in your deck if you're going to run this card. I don't run this card because I don't like to bank on I have a card, so I get this card's effect. But that's just me. We have Dogzilla. At the start of your turn, gain 2/2. He's a 6-cost, so he's a little lower than, he's not a 6/6, so he's a little low in stats, but the turn after he's a positive in stats. So he just needs to survive a turn, and then you gain value. So he's a good card if you think he's going to survive. Sludge Mastiff, which is a legendary card, and I buffed this to no end here. He has a cost of, I want to say his cost was 8, and I reduced it by 7, and then because of rule change, I got it down to 6. I believe that is correct. Just for anyone that's looking for actual numbers here. I gave him a charge sticker, because whenever this guy attacks, he gives all enemy minions -2 attack, and heals your minions for 5. This card in a Woofian deck is insane. He pretty much means that your board is eternal, and that their board is worth nothing. Against a lethal deck, lethal requires damage, at least 1 damage on the card to do its poison effect. This card can go into a non-lethal minion if there's 1 on the board, reduce pretty much most lethal minions to have 1 or 2 attack tops, make them 0s, and they are now useless. And then he's just healing all your minions on top of it. And it's a permanent negative too as well. I buffed his stats to a 7/7. He was a 6/6. With his current stats and everything on him, he's extremely powerful, obviously. But when you look at him regularly, he's strong, but he's not OP. Once you do what I did to him, this makes him broken. So if anyone's looking to make a broken Sludge Mastiff, this is how you do it. There might be better things you could do, but I'm pretty sure charge with a reduction in cost and stickers is pretty much the best you can do for this card. Smolder is a really good defender. He has a high health pool. I think he's an 8. He's a 0/8 normally, and he's a 6 cost. So once he gains his stats from being damaged, he becomes worth his cost. So he has to get hit once. He has high health pool, so you're generally going to get the value out of him, and there's a lot of ways to buff your minion's health and attack as Woofian, and therefore this makes him really good. Gamma, when this minion attacks, destroy an enemy face down mutation. He's a good control card. He's obviously, his effect gives him an increase in cost, which makes him a 7/6/6. I didn't use him, but he's okay. He would be okay in a lot of matchups. Against the specific, champions that use mutations, he'd be very strong. If you throw a couple stickers on this guy too, you can change it so that he's, better for cost. But I would say he's okay. I wouldn't put more than one of these in your deck. Humungapup, he's okay. So 7/7/7. So he's worth the value of what he costs. He's a rare card. He gives your other minions Defender, which can be good or bad depending on if you want them to have Defender. I would argue this card's pretty bad generally. It would actually have been better, I think, in my opinion, if Humungapup had on deploy, give 1 minion Defender, and then you get to choose it, essentially. I think that would have made him better. Or give them to, lethal or something, because not that doesn't really go with the flavor of the card, but it would have been more useful for this faction when this card gets dropped than to just give everyone Defender. He's okay. I mean, you could probably put 1 in your deck. I wouldn't really recommend using him at all, to be honest. Flea Master, deploy, gain attack equal to total attack of your other minions. This card is either really strong or really weak. It's situational. Woofians, as you can see from all the legendaries and stuff, you can gain so much board control that if you just had one of these in the deck, you don't even have to manipulate the cost on this. You could literally not reduce the cost on it at all, or increase its health, put any stickers, no stickers at all on this. And with my final build that I have for some of my decks, I could throw this in there, and it would just function. Because I could just save the 6th slot and throw this down, and most likely its stats are going to end up being 20 damage, or at least very close to it. Anyways, that's all the Woofian cards. I'll show you guys my deck that I was using for my playthrough towards the end. I have a Lethal Defender, which was my custom card here. Spidey Wrathe. because he was a spider, shark, giraffe. It was a solid with the reduction. I made it a defender, had lethal, so everything would have to run into it would just die. This is a very strong card for the build that I did. Anyways, so that was my deck. If anyone's looking at what might be useful to make or something for a Woofian run through. But those are all your card options, guys, for Woofian. I'm actually going to do Pipsqueaks in a separate video. I thought this would be a lot faster than it was. Alright, I appreciate everybody watching. Get out there and roof some enemies up. And have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.